Welcome, everybody, to our series, How to Turn Fear into Confidence That Creates Cash. And I'm very excited. Today, I have Tom Braegelmann with me. He is a guru in the financial world. He is a fund manager. He is a CEO, an entrepreneur. He has his own investment company. And I also have worked with him, and it's been a really amazing experience. And I thought he would be perfect for these times of uncertainty. So we have a lot of fear that's going around now. We have anger and riots. And a lot of people are sitting at home and they're feeling uneasy. And some of us might have lost our jobs, right? And so we could use that security that, of course, comes from having a stable financial position. And that's what I know, that's your vision. You help people with that. So there's this one thing they don't have to worry about, and that's money. So, but I will let you maybe introduce yourself a little bit, and maybe you can speak into how we can deal with these uncertain times, please. So okay, welcome, great. Tom.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Gabby. Thank you for the invite. And yeah, it's good to be here. Good to share thoughts. And I think it's really good what you're doing with your offer to help people out, to help them do better and live a better life. So that's really cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so, I've been in real estate now for way many years, 30 plus years, we'll say. Did a lot of investing in Minnesota up until about 10 years ago. And then I moved to California in 2010. And since then, we've been doing a lending model, real estate investment lending model, where investors invest with us in a fund or in individual deals. And then we facilitate the projects with borrowers, or in some cases, we become a joint venture partner with the team. And so it's a good way for me to use my skill set that I learned with a lot of the development and real estate I did in the past. So that's more or less the business side of what I do. And yeah, and so anything else I can answer for you?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So during this time, like in quarantine, right, the last few months, I still have I'm in a 401k situation, right? And so obviously we're all worried about the pandemic, and some of us have financial issues. And I noticed, like a couple of months ago, of course, my 401k took this deep dip.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's like all this, of course, more emotions coming up, right? And I want to really not have to worry about times of uncertainty. I don't want to have to worry about money anymore. And I did remember, however, that I also have a real estate investment, right, where
Mm-hmm.
I partook in one of your investments, and there was no fluctuation there. So I told myself, okay, you don't have to worry because your other investment is fine.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a good idea to be diversified. But a lot of people, they had to rely on their unemployment checks and helps from the government. So what advice would you have for people that are worried about, let's just say they have worried about money?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So first, I'll just mention the combination you shared about the stock market and about real estate. One of the reasons that I like real estate is that it has less volatility, and there's just a lot less swings in the market than there is in the stock market. And so, to me, that's always been an attraction. That's why I've enjoyed and done well with real estate. And there are some interesting ways to leverage. And so that's one of the differences that I see between real estate and the stock market, is that it can have more consistency and continuity through different times of challenge. But what I do, what I like to do is look at it from the core of what is the challenge. And in the strategy sessions that I do with investors, we go through a process where we talk about defining what it is that we really want in life. And once that's determined, then it's really about clarity and focus to get to that end result. So whether it's, it can be investing, it can be in any sort of investing, it can be actually in a lot of different things in life. If we know and have clarity on what we want, we're a lot more likely to get there. If we have the details of how to get there, that obviously helps too. And so, but even from there, let's step back one step further. And there was something that I heard a while back about the 4 basic things that we all need in life as really to keep us happy and to keep us going at the level that we want. And it's certainty, and the opposite of that is uncertainty, which is stimulus. So a controlled uncertainty. We want to know we're significant, and we want connection. And the reason I bring those up is when we think about what's happened now over the last 2 or 3 months, what's happened, we don't have the certainty. We don't really get the positive stimulation of being able to go out and do fun stuff, exciting stuff that we would normally want to do, get together with friends and, kind of stretch from that perspective. We don't really have the connection because we were quarantined. And with all of that, we feel less significant. And so I believe that that's the reason that, and it happened to me too, where there are days where you just really are feeling heavy and down from everything that's going on. And so if we look at it from that perspective, it's very understandable why we are feeling the way we are in this sort of an environment, in this sort of climate. But with that, then we look at, well, what can we do at this point to make a change? Well, again, I think if we can define exactly what we want and then identify what's in the gap, I think that's going to make the big difference. And when I say defining what we want, it's not like, it's deeper than, well, I just want more money, or I want more cash flow, or I want, if we go to the level of, I want more money because then I'll be able to make my house payment easier, or I'll be able to save for my retirement because I'm really nervous about retirement, or whatever that is. And then even from that perspective, what will life be like if I have enough money for retirement, or if I have an easier chance of making payments without all the stress? And by going that deep with it and really understanding what is the reason, and then going to the other side of that and understanding, or really feeling what it's going to feel like to have that is going to be the gas, that's going to be the motivation, that's going to give you the drive to get to where you want to go. By having that sort of commitment and conviction, once you really see what the possibilities are, then you can start working on the attitude, working on the mindset that gets you to where you can pull yourself out of those. And I am speaking from my own perspective too, because there a lot of things happen, and it's hard to always pull yourself up without the right reasons behind it. So does that make sense?
Yeah. So what I heard you say, get really clear as to what you want, right? And that sounds like vision to me, right? Yeah. So you get clear on your vision, and that will actually drive and pull you. And so that gives you a goal. And so in this case, obviously, we're talking, you are somebody that helps people with financial goals, and you are somebody that wants to make a difference in the world so people don't have to worry about money. That's and you have an amazing podcast, and you are showing opportunities, different ways, right, of investing. So There are some traditional investments. You are offering different kinds of investments. So, but going back to step number one was to get clear as to what we want. So
Yep.
what comes up for me is I don't want to have to worry about money, right? And I don't want to have to feel what I felt like 2 months ago, where my 401k went like deep down, and I'm like, oh. And I know a lot of people around me felt the same way. And some of us might be getting ready to retire soon, and all of a sudden a big dip like that can impact that. So what I don't want to be subject to these fluctuations, especially at my young age, right? I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with stress. And I don't want to have to talk about money or think about money. So what would be a couple of steps that I could take, so if that's my goal, not to have to worry as much?
Yeah, I think from there, then it would be a matter of really understanding what the resources are. What do you have to work with to get to that end result? Once you identify and have clarity on what it is, so that's really about the vehicle to get to that goal. You've got clarity, you've got focus, you're determined to make it happen. Then determining what the vehicle is. It could be something as simple as maybe there's a self-directed IRA, or there's whatever the vehicle is. It's about identifying what's going to fit you the best. So people generally want either cash flow or they want longer term gains. So that really kind of divides into two separate areas. One might be an equity investment in real estate over time. The other one might be a shorter term lending type of a structure, where they become investors in a lending model where they get monthly cash flow. It's really, I go back though to the other point of getting to that point of making the decision to do something. Once that decision to do something happens, it takes you into that whole next level of really having the ability to do it. I can't tell you how many times I talk with investors where they have money in their self-directed IRA, and it's just sitting there, and it's maybe getting, if anything, 1 or 2% return on it. If they're able to get that into some sort of an investment that's doing, let's say, even 8% return, a $50,000 investment in an 8% return, it's going to get you I think it's $333 a month cash flow. And that's nothing to shake a stick at. I mean, it's pretty good for that sort of an investment that if it wasn't doing anything, it wouldn't gain anything. So yeah, really, it's about identifying, is it cash flow or is it long-term gains that you're looking for? And then there are different things that we look at when we have our sessions, and that is, what is it that's going to make you feel good about the investment? Is it the risk profile? Is it the potential for the high returns? Is it consistency over time? Is it some sort of an environmentally conscious investment? Is it a socially conscious investment? There are a lot of different ways. One of the things we do, where we have different individual investments, where if somebody's more concerned about the social impact or the environmental impact, there are some really cool projects out there that we're working on, where that can make a huge difference in how the in the footprint that we leave on the planet. And so for some people that is important. For other people, it might be that they just want very consistent, regular returns. Other people might want something that has a little bit more potential, maybe swinging for the fences, where they can really potentially do well, but those are going to be a little higher risk profile. So so identifying which of those will get you to your end goal the quickest is really, I think it's really valuable in it. And again, by knowing that, having that certainty, that clarity, you can focus on that end result. You can get there a lot quicker than without knowing or having those benchmarks available.
So the other day I listened to one of your podcasts, and what really resonated with me was a conversation about taking control over your money.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak into that a little bit? What does that look like, taking control over your money?
Well, I think what we're talking about is part of it here, and that is just having that clarity of where am I today and where do I want to be? And between those two, there's a gap. And sometimes a gap is big, sometimes it's small, but the more clear we can be on that path to get to that, the better off we are. And I think from a control perspective, it really is understanding what's going to happen with those funds when you're in the investment. Is it a stock that's being purchased that has a lot of volatility? Is it a stock that's being purchased that's very consistent? That's one thing. Personally, I like the real estate area because it really offers that long-term stability, and the investment is secured by the real estate itself. Whereas with the stocks, it's not quite as closely correlated. And so, so it's really identifying what it is you want to get to, and then not really. I'll use the example of going to a doctor. If you go to a doctor and the doctor doesn't specifically tell you that sugar isn't good for you, you don't just you don't just continue to eat sugar because you know it's not good for you. Same with an investment. If somebody tells you an investment is good, you really want to know for yourself. You want to be able to check and see what are the points to look for so that you can be part of that decision, rather than I guess the correlation would be if it's a stockbroker that just tells you to put money in this stock just because I said so, because I said it's a good deal. That is not really taking control of your money. If you go to the doctor and he didn't tell you not to eat sugar and you just go ahead and eat sugar because he didn't say you shouldn't, well, then that's not really taking control of your health either. So does that make sense?
Yes, completely. And I feel that I have taken control over my money just by taking some and putting it into a self-directed IRA, because I have many more options, obviously, on where to invest, and I can pick my projects. And so it's just infinite possibilities. So I feel that, but that really resonates me, is having control and taking control, and also educating myself a little bit. I used to think before I had a financial coach, I used to think, okay, just leave it to the people that know. I think that was a mistake, because that's how I ended up in 401k situations for years. Okay. And it's just recently I learned that, that I'm really limiting myself, and that's not necessarily going to help me in reaching, my goals. So I wish I would have been educating myself a little bit more years ago. And I feel that I'm very programmed on what we should be doing, right? Like, buy the house, pay the mortgage, have your 401k, max out your 401k. And so I'm deprogramming myself later in life.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what you are helping with, right? Are you not? This is what I see you do a lot. You're opening possibilities, right? And a different type of investing.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people that believe that the only way to make money in real estate is they need to buy a property, own the property, rent it out, or fix it, and then make the money from that. When in fact there are some very very positive ways to get involved in individual investments where it's only a portion of the investment, but you still get the gains as though you were an owner of the property. There are different ways, depending on what the risk profile is or what you really want to see. A real estate fund is a good option too, because that offers even more diversification. You can diversify in individual deals, where instead of putting all your money into one deal, maybe you put a smaller amount into 3 deals. That way you're spreading your risk. Or if you put it into the fund, then you're really spreading the risk over the entire portfolio, that fund is invested. And that's where having these strategy sessions where you can really go to the depth of getting really clear on what it is, what the goals are, find out what's in the gap, then create the path. You can have focus once you have a clear path, and then knowing what the vehicles are to get you to that end result. And that's how connecting the dots gets people to where they get the results that they're looking for.
And what about fear? Like sometimes there are certain investments that might create some uneasiness, right? So there might be some fear that comes up. So how do I deal with that?
Well, if we think about where does fear come from? It comes from the perspective of not knowing, or not understanding, or not. At least this is my interpretation, that it comes from the position of believing that there's risk, or risk that can't be controlled. So my suggestion is to learn to dig deep enough to find out what that fear is, and then identify what investment vehicle is likely to get you to the closest to that. And this is where taking control of your money comes in, because if it's fear of a project or an investment that's not going to be solid, then it's really the responsibility of the investor to dig deep enough so that fear is addressed. And that and when we look at projects, we always look at them from the perspective of what are the risks, and can the risks either be eliminated or mitigated to the point where the deal still makes sense. If they can't be eliminated or mitigated, we totally stay away from those deals. And so we want to be able to show the investor how we've done our due diligence, how we've done the risk mitigation or identifying the risk. This is the other thing too, is that, I mean, when we do our investments, we have a huge, it's over 700 item checklist that we go through, and not all of them match for every single project, because some are commercial, some are residential. But having that checklist, number one thing is identify the risk. If you don't identify the risk, they're going to be hidden in there, and it's really possible that something could go wrong. Identify the risks, number one. Number two, find out if you can eliminate them or mitigate them to the point of satisfaction. If you can't, walk away. It's not worth doing the deal if you can't get to that point.
Okay, so really take a look at the risk, right? Make sure you have a solid financial strategy advice, right?
Yeah.
And and obviously I have different options. So you described, so I just want to briefly touch upon what this looks like, right? Your model of investing is basically, I'm not flipping a house. I'm basically creating passive income, which I love. I love to make money while I sleep, by the way. That's my favorite. So so basically your model is I can either invest in a fund, right? Or in a real estate fund, or I can get in on specific projects, and there is a certain guaranteed return so I basically loan out money to a real estate project for a specified amount of time and receive a specified amount of return. And each project looks different. Sometimes I might get the dividends monthly, and occasionally I might get the dividends at the end of the project, right? Is there something that I'm missing here? Do you want to clarify that?
That's really close. If I can just step back, I want to make sure that I get one other point across about the understanding the project and what's going on. One of the biggest lessons that I got to learn over the last, and this was between 5 and 10 years ago when I started on the passive, like the facilitating side of the equation. I had done a lot of on-site construction, all of those things up until 10 years ago, and then I got on the passive side. The biggest lesson that I got to learn was understanding the team and really knowing that the team is qualified and can get the project done on time and on budget. That to me, I would say, and we've funded hundreds of deals, we have never, in my opinion, we've never funded a bad deal. We have, however, funded some bad borrowers and had some bad teams. And so that was up until about 5 years ago. Then we switched the model to where we're a lot more involved based on those lessons that we learned. So whenever you're looking at investments, it's really important to look at the team and their ability to perform. So it's a lesson I got to learn the hard way, and I just want to be sure that that's out there. As far as the investment options, yes, you're right. There's the option of investing in a fund, which will be, like I said, it's spread over multiple deals that fund invests in. So it spreads the risk over more deals. There's the opportunity to invest in individual deals, either as an equity position or a debt position. And so typically what investors will do is we bring several investors together in projects, and then they can each take a portion of that investment. And it can be set up where it's either monthly cash flow or it's long-term, where everything is paid out at the end. Typically, at least at this point, our model has always been to go for the shorter term investments. That's 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, maybe even 36 months. Generally speaking, we haven't been doing a lot of the long-term investments, and that may change over time, but this model has worked out really well for us, and there's a high demand for it from borrowers and developers, and so that's worked out well. So depending on how long you want your investment in, what sort of diversification you want, what type of investment, like I say, is it a environmentally conscious investment? Is it something that we know is cleaning up a neighborhood? Is it something where it's helping a family out, like a family-run business where it's a commercial? We've got a restaurant in Puerto Rico, an amazing restaurant. People are just super excited about, and their business is just booming. And so we did a loan on the property, and we were able to help them get out of the ditch when they had problems in after the 2008, 2010 meltdown. And so we helped them get back into their business. Now they're doing a boom business, other than for the virus right now, but it's been doing really well. And it's just really fun to be able to get in and know that what we're doing for investments is really making a difference for people. And so those are the different things to look for, and those are the different opportunities available.
And that's also your mission, right? Your mission or your vision is to make a difference in people's lives, right? And
I'm sure that I'm going to bet that Alex made a point of getting that across. My business partner Alex, and so I mean, both of us are very passionate about the fact that we want to know that it's making a difference for people in the world.
Yeah, and this is why I thought you would be so perfect for this series, because obviously there are so many financial concerns out there, right? With unemployment that's very high, even though it's getting a little better now as things are opening up. And I still think it's a good idea that we prepare ourselves somehow, that we create, if we don't have to worry about money and our finances, I think that creates a much more confidence. That creates more confidence, and also would help me actually taking more risks, going into more ventures if I have a solid strategy. So thank you for all your advice. Now there's one question I ask everybody, all of my speakers, is what would the 100-year-old Tom tell the current Tom at the current age? I mean, a message that you want to give to your younger self, to your present self.
Got it. Do whatever. I would tell myself to do whatever it takes to keep a good, positive, strong attitude about life and about helping others. That's a lesson I got to learn over the years myself, and that's something I struggle with now, is always really getting to that point where I mean, it's getting to the point where you have that inner peace, that peace of mind, and really not taking anything for granted. I really believe that, time passes so fast.
Oh, yes.
And there are so many opportunities out there. We don't need to grab all the opportunities. We don't need to get out and do everything. But at the same time, get out and do some fun things rather than just leading a boring life. So it would really be just to get out there and enjoy life and find that balance and keeping a good attitude through everything, through whether it's through challenging times or fun times. It's life is about attitude. Investing is about attitude.
So have a solid, healthy, and a little fun investment attitude. That's what I heard you say.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So how can people find you, Tom?
I just Tom at tombraegelmann.com. And really that's as simple as that, except if the spelling is complicated, but you'll have that in the show notes probably.
And you told me as a gift that you're offering free strategies sessions. So that's very generous. So,
for anybody that comes in through your through your efforts, which I think I just really think it's cool what you're doing, and your goal of helping people and really helping them to the next level wherever they want to be. I think that's really cool. So I'll do a free 30-minute strategy session for anybody who comes in through your program.
Okay, that is wonderful. So people that want to know more, they want to figure out how to lead a more balanced life during uncertain times, right? So basically being prepared, not having to kind of decrease your worries. I think this would be a really good idea. So thank you so much, Tom. I'm sure our paths will cross again. I appreciate all this solid advice, and thank you for the free gift that you're offering.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Thank you.